Hi, welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal. Only a couple of days to go now until the end of the transfer window. I get some sleep, even on a Sunday. But listen, let's get into it. Before I get into all the transfer rumours, first of all, we got to talk about the game yesterday. And what a game it was. A very physical game, and resulting in the sending off of Mitrovic very early on in the game. Before that, by the way, we should have had a penalty, nailed-on penalty, when Hector Bellerin's foot was just trod on in the area. That wasn't given. Mitrovic, that was a definite red card. I can't understand how Steve McLaren could even argue the point when I saw it on TV. It was an awful challenge by Mitrovic. And to be fair, there could have been more Newcastle players sent off. There were so many of them on yellow cards. They committed more fouls. Their tactic on Arsenal was obviously to go physical and respect due to the referee for being strong. Because, you know, you can't just have players just running around and just, you know, heave-hoing on players. And the referee did offer a bit of protection. I mean, the amount of times in the game that Alexis Sanchez, it seemed to be, if Alexis Sanchez is running past you, just pull him down. And that's exactly what they did. And it was a good victory for Arsenal. Very tough. Remember, they got a 0-0 last week, Newcastle, away at Manchester United. So to go there to St James's Park, very hostile atmosphere. And to get that victory, it was good. However, when I look at some of the stats yesterday, that Arsenal have had more shots in the Premier League, 71, than any other team, and have only scored 3 goals, and 2 of those goals are own goals. It tells you all you need to know that Arsenal need to buy a striker. It is now obvious to everybody. I mean, if it's not obvious before, I mean, listen to the fans that I spoke to yesterday after the game. Every single one of them was going on about it. Theo Walcott missed a very, very easy chance in the game. So did Giroud when he came in at the end. And listen, in these sort of games, you've got to kill them off, because you know when it's still 1-0, all it takes is for a team to get a set piece or something like that, and you're in trouble. Fortunately, our defence yesterday I thought was absolutely outstanding. Gabriel again, brilliant. Bellerin, brilliant. So was Monreal, but we need a striker. Wenger, after the game, I was just looking at his quote. He said, I can predict. I can't predict, he said, what will happen. I'm optimistic. We're working on it. We've got Danny Welbeck and Jack Wilshere out, and you always want to add goal scorers to your squad. Who is that goal scorer going to be? Linked with so many players, you guys all know the drill. Practically every striker going we've been linked with. One of the ones we've been most heavily linked with at the moment is Edison Cavani. Cavani, the links are absolutely massive on Cavani at the moment. Oh, I've lost this picture. But the links on Cavani are massive at the moment. Fissures, that Spanish outlet that's been coming up with loads and loads of transfer rumours all summer, most of them, by the way, which haven't been correct. They're saying that Arsenal are going to go and try put in a £45 million bid for Cavani. It's going to take a massive bid to try and dislodge a player like Cavani. And even then, are PSG going to want to sell one of their marquee players? They got a hard Champions League group. There's uncertainty over Ibrahimovic, although Ibrahimovic probably will stay, but they want to keep 2 strikers. To get a player like Cavani, it's going to take a mega, mega offer. Is he worth it? Is there going to be any resale on him? Do we care? Do we just say to ourselves, go out there and get that big name striker? Is he still that big name striker? Is he still that striker that will get us the goals? That is lots of the questions that are being asked, but he seems to be one of the targets we're looking at. New target that's emerged today is Riyad Mahrez. Now, Riyad Mahrez has had a great start of the season, scoring goals for fun for Leicester. He's 24 years of age, Algerian, said to be available for as cheap as £5 million. And as I said, he's had a great start to the season. Sort of can operate anywhere on that forward line. He can play out wide, or he can play just behind the main striker, and he does get goals. Very, very quick, very, very exciting player. He's also been linked with Villarreal and Roma, but Leicester are saying at the moment that he's not for sale. Of course, a big offer for him may tempt them to, you know, let him go. Of course, the player would love to come and play for a team as big as Arsenal, but is he the answer to our striking problems? He's not an out-and-out striker. Would Riyad Mahrez get the fans excited? I think, listen, he's looked very, very good to me, but he's the sort of player that Arsenal need right now. We seem to have so many players that can play in that position. He's not an out-and-out striker. Julian Draxler, again, being linked today. Been linked for so long in this window. It's said that Arsenal's still pondering whether to make a bid for him. Juventus are the favourites to sign him. Remember, they've already been in with an offer which was turned down. It's said that Juventus are going to come back in again with another offer, but Arsenal pondering a move for Julian Draxler. I don't think if we sign Draxler that would go down badly with the fans. I think that would be quite a positive signing. Again, though, not the out-and-out striker that a lot of Gooners are looking for, but today linked. Also, Andrei Yarmolenko. Yarmolenko, Ukrainian, plays for Dynamo Kiev. Arsenal, again, reportedly have held talks with his agent, interested in bringing him in. Again, not an out-and-out striker, more of a wide player. You know, very good player, very, very impressive player, but more of a wide player. He has reportedly even come out and said that he prefers to go to Barcelona. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He'd prefer to go to Barcelona at the end of that. I don't know if Barcelona have already spoken to him and said, we'd love to come and get you, or if that's what just him expressing is the club he'd love to play for. But Arsenal definitely taking a long, hard look at him. He cost about £14.5 million. So not very expensive. But is Yarmolenko, again, is this the sort of player that Arsenal need right now? I suppose we do have a problem out on that left-hand side. He is an out-and-out winger for me, not really a striker. He can kind of play as a forward, but not really a striker in my books. But Yarmolenko, is that what Arsenal need? Also been linked with Everton. I'm not sure about him. And finally, very interestingly, I was reading today in the Spanish publication Marca, they were talking about Karim Benzema, saying that Arsenal definitely were trying to sign him, that Arsenal offered him massive wages to join Arsenal, but he decided to stay at Real Madrid. And that is at least positive to know that Arsenal, you know, a lot of people throughout this window have been saying that, you know, Arsenal have not been trying to sign Benzema. They have. They have been trying to sign Benzema. He's been the #1 target for Arsenal. It is always going to be very, very, very difficult to get a player like that from Real Madrid, especially when Real Madrid haven't got really anybody else lined up to bring in. But it does appear now that he's definitely going to be staying with Real Madrid. And Marca, as I said, reporting that Arsenal offered him mega wages to join them at the Emirates, but he turned it down and stayed at the Bernabeu. Let's get into some of your comments. What's a Square said, if anyone could pull out a deadline day signing, it's Arsene Wenger, but so far it doesn't look so good. Let's hope. Yes, he is good at pulling out deadline day signings, but why always deadline day? Well, this next guy seems to have the answer. Tashawn Johnson Daniels says, the reason why we leave it so late is that Arsene Wenger doesn't want to let players he identifies and dislodges at clubs become available to teams like Chelsea, Manchester United and Manchester City to swoop like they do clubs without unlimited funds. City can afford to bet on a £60 million bid for Kevin De Bruyne. If Arsene Wenger lines up a deal, the last thing he wants is to be gazumped. there is a little bit of truth in that, you know, we've seen in the past that Arsenal have identified players and those players have been swooped away from us. I mean, you know, there's been quite a lot of players that famously we looked at first, and they've ended up at other clubs. But with the money that we've got now, with the fact that it's Arsenal, the power, I think that we should be getting more aggressive in the transfer market. It's not like a few years ago where our offers would have been like, you know, 80 million and 50 million and stuff like that. We can offer 50 million pounds for a player. We could go in and make an offer for De Bruyne. All right, we might not be able to match. I'm not saying, by the way, that we should get De Bruyne. We don't need him, but I'm not saying that we could match maybe Manchester City for wages, but certainly on a transfer fee, we could go in and we could match the offer that Manchester City are making at the moment for De Bruyne. But are we aggressive enough? Do we, like this guy is sort of suggesting, are we like in fear all the time that, oh, somebody else is going to come in and make a bid for that player? You know, Eric says Zlatan Ibrahimovic is loved no matter where he goes. I mean, he played for Juventus, Inter Milan, and Milan, but he will clash with Ronaldo at Madrid. So he doesn't think that he doesn't see him ending up at Madrid. And remember, we were saying that, you know, it would be a domino effect, maybe, of maybe this is what some people were suggesting, that if Ibrahimovic went to Real Madrid, then maybe they may be willing to let go Benzema, but I don't think that's going to happen. Wow, look at this! Look at this comment here. How am I supposed to read that? Look at that! Look at that! That is a book. That is a book that is there. Listen, that just shows how passionate at the moment people are at the moment about these transfers. It's only a couple of days to go, and as I said, as we saw yesterday, in a way, you know what, I was driving back from the game and I was talking to the guys in the car and I said, you know what, yesterday for me was the perfect victory. We went away and we won away at Newcastle, but we wasn't overly convincing, and even though we won, we didn't score the goal. It was an own goal, which means that the focus again is on strikers. Now, if we would have gone away yesterday and say we would have won that game 4-0, Theo scored a hat-trick, Giroud came on and scored one, you could just imagine Arsene Wenger coming out at the end of that game and saying, we don't need any strikers, we're all right, we've got what we've got here is more than adequate. But what the stark reality is that yesterday we won, but we didn't score. Monday night against Liverpool, we didn't score. We only scored one goal and one own goal away at Crystal Palace, and we didn't score against West Ham. And Wenger's got those stats in front of him, and he's got his stats men, and he's got his coaches, and they're all looking at that and they're thinking, we've got a problem here. We've got a problem. We're not scoring goals. We need an injection of something up front. And that's why I think that yesterday, and even possibly the start to the season, has been a blessing in disguise. Because if we would have blazed it up like Manchester City, I'm convinced that Arsene Wenger would just be saying, you know what, we ain't signing anybody. We've got enough. But I think what the start of the season has shown him is that we're short. And he must go out there within those next couple of days and make at least one big signing. That is the hope of all Arsenal fans. Thanks for watching Arsenal Transfer Daily. We will be back tomorrow and the day after that to find out what Arsene Wenger does.